In the church today, we have a variety of English translations of Scripture. And we have everything from our standard King James to our New American Standard, your ESV, your Christian Standard, your NIV, your NLT, all these different translations, and many more that I haven't mentioned. It is one necessarily better than another? Or is there only one translation that we need? These are questions we need to ask and consider, and we'll look at some of the details of that in future videos. But I just wanted to share kind of a broad overview of why there's not exactly one perfect translation of Scripture in and of itself. The reason is the nature of language, that there is not a direct one-for-one correlation between a word in a particular language to another translation, to another language, excuse me. Took Spanish a little bit in high school, a little bit after it, and there's one phrase I remember, it was todo lo puedo en Cristo, which means I can do all things through Christ. And the word puedo, it means I can, I am able, I have the power to. There's a variety of ways it could be translated. And the same thing for the word scripture. You take a particular word in the New Testament and you look up in Strong's Concordance to look at the definition, and you're going to find a variety of definitions or nuances. That's because a word may have a particular nuance or a meaning in one context and a different meaning or nuance in a different context. And so translators will have to look and understand, okay, this particular word in this particular passage, what does it mean? And how do I find the best equivalent to that in English or whatever language the translation is being made into? Another factor of language is idioms. These phrases that we use all the time, and how do we translate those? Since I was about 12, I've lived down here in Alabama, spent several years in the country and helping out on farms. And there's a phrase that's used down here. It's full as a tick on a dog's ear. Now, I know exactly what they're talking about, what image I have, because I've seen that. Other people who have not spent time in the country may not fully grasp or understand the idiom. There's a lot of other ones that we could share, and there's a lot even in Scripture. Let's use one from Romans 6. There's a phrase where Paul is asking, shall we continue in sin that grace may increase? And he responds in an extremely strong negative. It's an idiom. The KJV translates that idiom as God forbid. The word God is not actually used in that idiom. It's not used in the Greek. But the KJV translators, they expressed God forbid as a very strong idiom that had the same meaning as the idiom there in Greek. The NASB 95 translated it as that same idiom as may it never be. It's another way of saying that it should not happen. And the translators will have to decide with an idiom. Are they going to try to stick more for a word for word, one that we may not fully grasp everything about the idiom the way the original audience did, or are they going to try to find a parallel one in English or whatever language the translation is being made into? And so there's a variety of questions that translators have to ask. And the way they answer these questions will decide their translation philosophy. And that is one of the main reasons why there is such a variety in English translations. Why such as like the NLT does not sound like exactly like the ESV or the New American Standard. And so we'll get into more factors of these in coming weeks, but I just wanted to hop on here and share a little bit about language and why that is one major factor for the variety of English translations of Scripture. The Scripture quotations from the NASB are from the New American Standard Bible, copyright 1971, 1995 by the Lockman Foundation, used by permission, all rights reserved.